The meeting room felt too quiet. Ambassador Raylan shuffled through digital reports on his tablet while other council members whispered among themselves. 300 years of data sat in front of him, and none of it made sense. Every species in the galaxy fought over territory. The Torvans expanded aggressively. The Vrenith swarmed across systems. Even peaceful traders pushed their boundaries when resources ran low. But humans, their borders hadn't moved a single kilometer in 3 centuries. Raylan pulled up a star chart. The human zone glowed blue on the display, a modest bubble of space containing maybe 40 systems, small for a species of 12 billion. Tiny compared to empires that controlled hundreds of worlds. Yet nobody crossed that line, not by accident, not on purpose. Ships approached the boundary and simply turned around. They must have weapons we cannot detect, High Commander Drevish spoke from across the table. The Korthan leader gestured at the map with one of his 4 arms. Cloaked mines, perhaps, or automated defense platforms. We have sent probes, Raylan replied. Hundreds of them, they show nothing, empty space, normal radiation, standard cosmic background. The probes cross the line and function perfectly. They detect no threats. Then why does every ship turn back? Raylan had asked himself that question for 5 years. He pulled up another file. The Vrenith swarm incident from 287 years ago. 5,000 ships had approached human territory in a massive migration fleet. They needed to pass through human space to reach feeding grounds on the other side. The swarm crossed the boundary at exactly 14:22 Galactic Standard Time. At 14:23, all 5,000 ships executed simultaneous turns and retreated. Every single vessel, perfect synchronization. The Vrenith Queens reported feeling a sudden urge to find another route, nothing hostile, nothing threatening, just an overwhelming sense that going forward would be uncomfortable. Pattern matching, Observer Quillith spoke up. The ancient being rarely contributed to council debates, but when they did, others listened. I have studied the data. Ships do not retreat because of fear. They retreat because continuing forward feels wrong at a neurological level. Impossible, Drevish scoffed. You cannot make someone turn around just by thinking at them. Humans can. Dr. Iris Walsh stood near the observation window, the human. Representative had been silent until now. She was young for an ambassador, maybe 60 standard years. Humans lived longer these days, something about genetic optimization. We believe in clear boundaries. When someone approaches our space, we make sure they understand exactly what crossing means. Threats, Drevish leaned forward. You threaten them. Information, Walsh smiled. We provide complete and total information. Every ship that approaches our borders receives data, not warnings, just facts, what they will experience if they enter, what they will see, what they will feel. Most species find that information deeply uncomfortable. Raylan frowned. What kind of information? The truth about what we have built. Walsh pulled up her own display. The human territory expanded into a 3-dimensional rendering. At first glance, it looked like normal space, stars, planets, asteroid fields. Then Walsh adjusted the filters, the empty space between stars filled with light, trillions of tiny points. This is our territory at the nanoscale. Every cubic meter contains monitoring systems, not weapons, monitors, sensors, computational substrates. We know everything that happens in our space, every particle, every energy fluctuation, every thought pattern from every living being. The room fell silent. You spy on your own people? Someone asked. We know our own people, Walsh corrected. We know our space. We have spent 300 years optimizing every single aspect of our territory, perfect efficiency, zero waste, complete understanding. When someone enters our borders, they enter the most thoroughly known space in the galaxy. Drevish stood abruptly. This is superstition. You cannot monitor every atom. The computational power required would exceed the energy output of entire star clusters. Yes, Walsh agreed. It would, if we used conventional technology. Before anyone could respond, Drevish made his announcement. The Korthan Empire will cross human space next month. We need to reach the outer terminus systems. Your territory lies directly in our path. We will not ask permission. We will not seek approval. We will simply cross. If your invisible monitors wish to watch us pass, they may do so. Walsh did not look surprised. She nodded slowly. You have the right to try. All species have free will. We respect that. She gathered her materials and moved toward the exit. At the doorway, she paused. Commander Drevish, I will tell you what we tell everyone. The moment your ships cross our boundary, you will understand things about yourselves that you did not know before. You will see systems operating at efficiency levels you thought impossible. You will feel observed in ways that make conventional surveillance seem quaint, and you will have a choice. You can continue forward into deeper knowledge, or you can retreat to comfortable ignorance. Most choose retreat. We are not most species, Drevish replied. Walsh smiled sadly. Everyone says that. We will be watching, Commander, not to judge, simply to understand. That is what we do. We watch, we learn, and we optimize. Your fleet will teach us much about Corthan psychology and decision-making patterns. We look forward to the data. She left the room. Raylan stared at the star chart. The blue boundary line suddenly looked different, not like a wall, more like a threshold, a line between the known and the truly known. He wondered if Drevish understood what he was about to attempt. Probably not. Nobody ever did until they crossed that line themselves. Ensign Prell checked the navigation display for the 8th time in 10 minutes. The numbers looked correct, but something felt off. The Corthan fleet had crossed into human space 40 minutes ago. Nothing dramatic happened. No alarms, no weapons fire, no stern warnings, just silence and empty space. Sensor sweep complete, Captain Niles reported from her station. All systems normal, no contacts, no anomalies. We are officially inside human territory. High Commander Drevish nodded from his command position. Maintain course, standard patrol formation, run continuous scans. Prell adjusted the helm controls. The ship responded smoothly, too smoothly actually. He had been piloting Corthan vessels for 6 years and knew how they handled. The dominant strike usually had a slight drift to port that required constant correction. Every ship had quirks, but right now the vessel flew like it had just left the factory. Perfect trim, perfect balance. Sir, Lieutenant Soren spoke from tactical. Weapon systems showing increased efficiency, 0.01% improvement across all arrays. Explain, Drevish demanded. I cannot. The capacitors are charging faster. Targeting sensors have better resolution. Even the cooling systems are operating beyond standard parameters. Nothing is wrong. Exactly, everything is just working better. Niles frowned at her own console. Communications also improved. Signal clarity up 0.03%, less interference on all channels. Prell said nothing. He was too busy staring at his navigation logs. Every course correction he had made in the last 20 minutes was already recorded in the system. Not after he made them. Before. Small adjustments that should have been his decisions showed up in the buffer 3 or 4 seconds early. Commander, he spoke quietly, something is wrong with the nav computer. Drevish crossed to the helm station. Define wrong. It is predicting my corrections. Look. Prell pulled up the logs. At 14, 22, 17, I adjusted heading by 0.3 degrees to avoid micrometeorite drift, but the system logged that adjustment at 14, 22, 14, 3 seconds before I made the decision. Sensor lag, Drevish suggested. No, sir, I checked. The time stamps are accurate. The computer knew what I would do before I did it. Silence filled the bridge. Niles ran her own diagnostics. He is correct. Our communication array just optimized itself to avoid solar interference that has not occurred yet. It adjusted frequency bands for a solar flare that will not happen for another 6 minutes. A message appeared on every screen. Simple text, no audio, no signature. You have entered monitored space. All systems are now visible to us. You may proceed or return. The choice remains yours. Drevish laughed. Bluffing, they want us to panic and retreat. He opened a channel. This is High Commander Drevish to human observers. Your psychological warfare is noted but ineffective. We will continue our journey. Drevish out. No response came. The fleet moved deeper into human space. Stars drifted past. Planets appeared on long-range scans. Everything looked normal. But Prell could not shake the feeling of being watched, not by cameras or sensors, by something that understood the ship better than he did. 2 hours into the crossing, things got stranger. A minor power fluctuation in engineering fixed itself before the damage control team arrived. A cooling pump that had been scheduled for maintenance next week suddenly operated at peak efficiency. The ship's medical bay reported that medication dispensers were now perfectly calibrated to each crew member's individual metabolism. "This is impossible," Soren muttered. She pulled up system. Diagnostics on every screen. "Our weapons cannot damage human-origin materials. I just ran simulations. The targeting computers will not lock onto anything with human molecular signatures. Not jammed, not blocked, simply refusing to target, as if someone reprogrammed them." "Check the code," Drevish ordered. "Already did. Code is unchanged. Hardware is unchanged, but behavior has altered." She looked up at the commander. "Sir, something has accessed our core systems without leaving any trace. This level of intrusion should be impossible. We have quantum encryption, isolated networks, physical air gaps, yet something reached inside and modified how our weapons function." Niles spoke quietly. "All ships reporting similar anomalies. The entire fleet is experiencing optimization. Systems we never knew could be better are suddenly operating beyond design specifications." Prell pulled up the navigation display again. A new file had appeared. He opened it with trembling hands. The file contained complete trajectory calculations for the entire Corthan fleet. Every ship, every movement, every course correction, all calculated 47 hours ago, before they even entered human space. "Commander," Prell's voice barely worked. They knew exactly what we would do, where we would go, how we would react, everything." He highlighted the time stamp. "This file was created 2 days before we crossed the border." Drevish stared at the screen. The calculations were perfect. Every turn they had made, every formation change, every tactical decision, all predicted with complete accuracy. "How?" he whispered. Another message appeared, this time from Dr. Walsh. "You asked how we know. The answer is simple. We understand patterns. Your ships broadcast thousands of data points every second. Engine temperatures, power consumption, communication protocols. Every machine has habits. Every crew has tendencies. We have been watching your fleet for 3 weeks, not spying, simply observing. From that data, we built a complete psychological and tactical model. We know how Corthan commanders think, how Corthan ships perform, how Corthan crews react under stress. This is not magic. This is applied knowledge." Drevish sat down heavily. "What do you want?" "Nothing. You are free to proceed. But you should know that you are not traveling through empty space. You are traveling through understanding. Every atom around you is known, every possibility calculated. We do not control through force. We control through comprehensive awareness. Welcome to human territory, Commander. We hope you learned something valuable here." The message ended. The fleet continued forward, but nobody spoke. They all felt it now, the weight of being truly known. Ambassador Raylan accessed the classified files at 0300 station time. Nobody else would be in the archives now. He needed to understand what was happening to the Corthan fleet. 3 days inside human territory and the reports coming back made no sense. The first file detailed the Vrenith swarm incident. He had read the summary before, but never the full classified version. The swarm queens had provided detailed testimony under council seal. What they described chilled him. "We felt welcomed," the testimony read. "Not threatened, not warned, simply welcomed into complete transparency. Our ships crossed the boundary and immediately we understood our own biology better. Nutrient efficiency increased, waste processing improved. Our queens experienced unprecedented mental clarity, but with that clarity came awareness. We realized we were not just crossing space. We were crossing through something that knew us better than we knew ourselves. The feeling was not hostile. It was intimate, too intimate. We retreated because continuing forward meant accepting that level of exposure." Raylan moved to the next file. The Delvin exploratory mission from 193 years ago. 3 science vessels had entered human space seeking to study the phenomenon. They lasted 6 hours. The mission commander's final report was brief. "We cannot continue. Our instruments show impossible readings. Empty space is not empty. It is full of structure we cannot comprehend. Something is processing information at scales that make our quantum computers seem like stone tools. We are being measured, categorized, and understood in real time. Not judged, understood. That difference matters. Judgment we could resist. Understanding we cannot. Request immediate extraction." Back in normal space, the Corthan fleet sent their daily status report. Raylan read it with growing concern. Ships reported perfect health, 0 malfunctions. Crew morale was strange, not low but unsettled, like people who suddenly realized they had been naked in public all along. "Engineering reports that our fusion reactors are operating at theoretical maximum efficiency," the report stated. "This should not be possible with our current fuel grade. Analysis suggests that someone or something has optimized the magnetic containment fields without physically touching any equipment. Life support systems now recycle air with 0 losses. Medical reports unprecedented health among crew. Minor conditions that normally require treatment have resolved spontaneously. We are healthier, more efficient, and more capable than ever before. Morale is terrible." Raylan understood. The Corthans were experiencing what every species felt in human space, the crushing weight of being fully known. Humans did not hide their capabilities. They demonstrated them through gentle, helpful optimization, making your ships work better, making your crew healthier, fixing problems you did not know existed, all without permission, all without warning, just quiet, persistent improvement of everything around them. A priority message arrived from Observer Quillith. Raylan opened it immediately. "I have reviewed the ancient texts from my species' archives. 8 million years ago, we reached a similar point of development. We learned to manipulate matter at quantum scales. We learned to predict behavior through comprehensive data analysis. We learned to make our territory so perfectly optimized that other species felt uncomfortable entering it. We called it the threshold of restraint, the point where power becomes so absolute that using it destructively becomes meaningless. Humans have reached this threshold. They choose not to expand because expansion would be trivial. They choose not to conquer because conquest would be effortless. They choose not to control because control is already complete. The question is not whether they can dominate the galaxy. The question is why they choose not to." Raylan pulled up another classified file, this one from human space itself, a leaked document from Earth's Territory Management Division. The leak had occurred 70 years ago and remained the most classified information in Council archives. The document was simple, a philosophical statement from when humans first established their current borders. "We have achieved effective omniscience within our territory. Every particle is monitored. Every pattern is understood. Every possibility is calculated before it occurs. The question before us is what to do with this power. Expansion would be easy. Conquest would be trivial, but we have learned something important. True power is not measured by what you can take. It is measured by what you can protect. We choose to make our space a sanctuary, not a fortress, a place where understanding replaces conflict, where optimization replaces competition, where knowledge replaces fear. Let other species expand outward. We will expand inward, making every cubic meter of our space more perfect than the last. This is our contribution to galactic civilization, not territory, not dominance, understanding." The document included technical specifications. Raylan read them with mounting horror. Human space contained an estimated 3 trillion independent monitoring units per cubic kilometer. Each unit was smaller than a virus. Each unit communicated with its neighbors using quantum entanglement. Together, they formed a computational network that exceeded the processing power of every other civilization combined. And humans used this godlike power to make sure visiting ships had properly calibrated life support systems. A new message arrived from the Corthan fleet, Drevish himself this time. "We have reached the halfway point. Dr. Walsh contacted us. She said we are now past the point of safe return, not because of threats, Because our ships have been so thoroughly optimized that returning to normal space would be dangerous. Our reactors are operating at levels our home facilities cannot maintain. Our systems are integrated with human monitoring networks. If we leave now, everything will degrade back to baseline and the shock could damage critical systems. She offered us a choice. Continue forward with human assistance, or accept human help to safely downgrade our ships back to original specifications so we can retreat. Raylan closed his eyes. That was the trap, not force, not violence, help. Humans helped you so much that leaving became dangerous. They made you dependent not through conquest, but through kindness. What did you choose? Raylan sent back. The reply took 30 seconds. We are continuing forward, not because we must, because I need to see what they built. I need to understand, even if it costs us our pride. Dr. Walsh materialized on the main view screen, not a video call, an actual holographic projection standing on the Corthan bridge like she had teleported aboard. High Commander Drevish jerked back in surprise. His security team raised weapons before realizing. The projection was not solid. Apologies for the dramatic entrance, Walsh said. I wanted to make a point. You are currently sitting inside our computational substrate. Matter and energy here respond to human direction, not control, direction. There is a difference. You hacked our hologram projectors, Soren accused. No, we asked them politely to display my image. Your systems agreed. Walsh smiled. Everything in our space is capable of communication at levels your technology cannot detect. We negotiate with matter itself. The projector wanted to show you something interesting, so it cooperated. Drevish felt his four stomachs twist. Projectors do not want anything. They are machines. Everything wants something at the quantum level. Particles want to achieve lowest energy states. Fields want to propagate. Information wants to be organized. We simply learn to listen to what matter tells us and work with it rather than against it. Walsh gestured, and the bridge view screen changed. Let me show you what you are traveling through. The display filled with light, not stars, not ships, something else entirely. Trillions of tiny points forming networks that stretched across empty space. Geometric patterns that hurt to look at. Mathematical structures existing in more dimensions than Corthan eyes could process. This is human territory at the nanoscale. Every point you see is a monitoring unit. Every line is a communication pathway. Together they form a distributed intelligence network that spans 40 star systems. We do not use computers anymore. We use space itself as a computational medium. Dark matter makes excellent processing substrate once you learn to interact with it properly. Captain Niles stared at the display. How much processing power? Enough to simulate your entire civilization 1 million times per second with perfect accuracy. We could run 1,000 variations of Corthan history simultaneously and predict which timeline you came from based on your behavioral patterns. We do not do this because it would be rude, but we could. Drevish felt small. His species had been proud of their quantum computers, proud of their tactical networks, proud of their ability to coordinate thousand-ship fleets. Humans had turned empty space into something more intelligent than every Corthan computer combined. Why show us this? He asked quietly. Because you asked why nobody challenges human. Territory, this is why. Walsh walked across the bridge, her hologram passing through a console without resistance. You are not traveling through space. You are traveling through thought, distributed thought. Every molecule around you is part of a consciousness so vast that your fleet is like a few cells passing through an ocean. We are aware of you the way you are aware of your own breathing. Present but not focused. Important but not dominant. A new figure appeared on the bridge. Older, male, human. Commander Drevish, I am Director Hayes. I manage Earth's territory coordination. Dr. Walsh believes you should understand what you committed to when you crossed our threshold. I agree. Would you like a demonstration? Drevish nodded slowly. His crew watched in silence. Hayes gestured. The view screen changed. It showed the Corthan fleet from outside, normal view. Then the image shifted. The ships began to dissolve, not destroyed, transformed. Metal became atoms, atoms became organized clouds became streams of pure information. The entire fleet converted to data, moved 50 light-years in an instant, and reconstructed itself perfectly in Corthan home space. Crew members safe, systems intact. Journey completed without anyone noticing. They had been disassembled and rebuilt. "This is what we could do if we wanted to stop you," Hayes explained. "No violence, no destruction. We would simply reorganize matter with or without permission. Your atoms would be encouraged to temporarily exist as energy, travel home, and reassemble. You would experience subjective time of maybe 3 seconds. Your fleet would appear in orbit around your homeworld with full memory of choosing to turn around. We have done this 17 times in 300 years to ships that posed genuine threats to galactic peace." "Why tell us this?" Niles asked. "Why reveal your capabilities?" "Because fear is useless," Walsh replied. "You cannot fight something you do not understand. You cannot negotiate with something you cannot comprehend. So we show you exactly what we are. Then we give you a choice, real choice, informed choice. Continue forward knowing you are completely vulnerable, or retreat knowing we will help you do so safely. Both options are acceptable to us. Both teach us something valuable about how different species process overwhelming information." Drevish looked at his crew. Prell seemed fascinated rather than afraid. Soren looked calculating, already thinking about tactical implications. Niles appeared thoughtful. They were good officers. They deserved to know what their commander was thinking. "I have a question," Drevish said. "You have this power. You could control the entire galaxy. Why do you not expand? Why stay in your small territory when you could have everything?" Hayes and Walsh exchanged glances. Hayes spoke carefully. "We asked ourselves that question 300 years ago. Just because we can do something, does that mean we should? We had achieved technological singularity. We could expand across the galaxy in weeks. We could optimize every system. We could make everything perfect according to our understanding. But that would be tyranny. Benevolent perhaps, but still tyranny. So we made a choice. We would perfect what we had rather than taking what we did not need. We would serve as guardians rather than conquerors. We would demonstrate that true advancement is not measured by territory controlled, but by wisdom applied." "And if we had come with hostile intent," Drevish asked, "then you would have arrived home confused about why you turned around. Safely, gently, with no memory of the decision being external. We do not punish, we redirect. Violence is the tool of species that lack comprehensive understanding. We understand, we do not need violence." The holograms faded. Drevish sat alone with his thoughts. They had crossed into something far beyond a territory. They had entered a philosophy made manifest in matter and energy. The Galactic Council chambers filled slowly. Emergency sessions always drew attention, but this one had representatives from 40 species crowding into spaces meant for 20. Everyone wanted to hear what the Corthan fleet had experienced. Ambassador Raylan reviewed his notes one final time. High Commander Drevish would address the Council in 15 minutes. The Corthan fleet had emerged from human space 6 hours ago. Their ships functioned perfectly. Their crews reported good health, but something had changed. Raylan could see it in the preliminary reports. The Corthans had learned something that fundamentally altered their understanding of power. Dr. Walsh entered quietly and took her seat. She nodded to Raylan. He nodded back. An understanding passed between them. She knew what was coming, probably knew before Drevish himself did. That was the thing about humans, they always knew. "Council will come to order," Observer Quillith announced. "High Commander Drevish has requested emergency session to discuss his fleet's passage through human territory. Commander, you have the floor." Drevish stood. He looked older than he had 2 weeks ago, not physically, something else, like someone who had been shown too much truth too quickly. "I came to this council to announce Corthan's strength," he began. "I intended to prove that human borders were maintained by superstition rather than capability. I was wrong, completely and utterly wrong." He paused. "Human borders are not defended by weapons. They are defined by understanding so complete that defense becomes irrelevant." Murmurs filled the chamber. Drevish continued. "We spent 7 days traveling through human space. Every moment of that journey our ships were known, not watched. Known, there is a difference. Watching is external, knowing is internal. Humans understand their territory at the quantum level, every particle, every energy fluctuation, every probabilistic outcome. They do not control through force. They control through comprehensive awareness. They threatened you? Someone asked. No, they helped us. Our ships now function better than factory specifications. Our crews are healthier than before we departed. Our systems are optimized beyond what we thought possible. They made us stronger. That is how they control, not through fear but through demonstrating what control actually means. Raylan watched Dr. Walsh. She sat calmly taking notes, not gloating, not proud, simply observing. Drevish pulled up holographic displays. Humans have achieved effective omniscience within their territory. 3 trillion monitoring units per cubic kilometer, each smaller than a virus, each communicating via quantum entanglement. Together they form a computational network that exceeds all other civilizations combined. They use dark matter as processing substrate. Empty space thinks for them. The chamber fell silent. I asked them why they do not expand, why they stay in their small territory when they could control everything. Dr. Walsh told me something I did not understand at the time. She said true power is not measured by what you can take, but by what you can protect. Humans choose to protect rather than conquer. They choose to optimize rather than expand. They choose wisdom over territory. Observer Quillith spoke. You mentioned they helped you. Explain. Our reactors operate at theoretical maximum now. Our life support has zero waste. Our medical systems can predict illness before it occurs. Humans optimized everything without asking permission. They made us dependent on their help to function at this level. That is the trap, not force, not violence. Help so profound that refusing it becomes dangerous. A Torvan representative stood. This is tyranny, control through aid. Perhaps, Drevish admitted, but effective tyranny is invisible. Humans show you exactly what they do. They explain their capabilities. They give you choice, real choice. They do not hide their power. They demonstrate it and then ask what you want to do with that knowledge. Most species cannot handle that level of honesty. Raylan finally spoke. What happened when you emerged from human space? Our ships began degrading, not breaking, degrading, returning to baseline specifications. Humans had integrated our systems with their monitoring network. When we left their territory, that integration ended. Equipment that had been working perfectly started showing normal wear again. Maintenance issues we forgot about returned. The human optimization faded like we had woken from a dream. Dr. Walsh warned us this would happen. She offered to help us maintain the improvements permanently, for a price. The council leaned forward. Not currency, not resources, not territory. She asked that we share what we learned with other species. She asked that we teach the galaxy about restraint, about choosing not to expand when expansion would be easy, about demonstrating wisdom through limitation rather than capability through conquest. That is what humans want, not subjects, not servants, students. Walsh stood. May I respond? Quillith gestured permission. Commander Drevish understands partially. Let me clarify. 300 years ago, humanity achieved technological singularity. We could have expanded across the galaxy. We could have optimized every system. We could have imposed our understanding on all species. We chose not to, not from weakness, from philosophy. We asked ourselves what advancing civilization actually means. Is it conquering more space, or perfecting what you already have? We chose perfection over expansion. We chose depth over breadth. We chose to make our 40 systems the most thoroughly understood space in the galaxy. That choice required more strength than conquest would have. Every day we choose not to expand. Every day we choose restraint. That choice, renewed constantly, is our contribution to galactic civilization. She looked directly at Drevish. You asked why nobody challenges human territory. Now you know it is not fear, it is respect. Every species that truly looks at what we built recognizes something profound. They see what advancement looks like when divorced from expansion. They see power measured by restraint rather than application. They see a mirror showing them what they could become if they mastered themselves before attempting to master space. Some species retreat from that mirror. Some species, like the Corthans, look into it and begin to understand. We do not judge either response. We simply offer the mirror. What you see in it belongs to you. Drevish nodded slowly. We will not expand further, not yet, not until we learn to perfect what we already have. The Corthan Empire formally requests human assistance in optimizing our home systems. Walsh smiled. We would be honored to help. 6 months passed before Ambassador Raylan visited Earth. He had put off the trip repeatedly. Some part of him feared seeing the truth behind human territory, but curiosity eventually won. Observer Quillith had requested a formal inspection of human space. Raylan volunteered to accompany them. The transport ship approached Earth at standard velocity. No special clearances needed. No military escort. Just a polite message from orbital control providing optimal approach vectors. The ship's computer followed the guidance automatically. Raylan wondered if the computer made that choice itself or if human systems simply encouraged the decision. We are entering primary monitoring density, the pilot announced. Sensors showing significant quantum activity in supposedly empty space. Quillith watched the displays with ancient eyes. I have not been to Earth in 4 million years, curious to see what they have built. The ship settled into orbit. Earth filled the viewport, blue and green, white clouds, normal-looking planet. Then the pilot adjusted sensor filters and Raylan gasped. The planet was wrapped in layers of light, geometric structures orbiting at every altitude, not satellites, something else. Patterns that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. That is their primary computational sphere, Quillith explained. Each layer processes different aspects of reality, weather prediction, resource optimization, matter organization. They do not use separate systems. They use space itself as an integrated thinking medium. A shuttle carried them down to Geneva. Human civilization spread below, cities that grew organically rather than being planned, buildings that incorporated nature rather than replacing it. Everything looked peaceful, almost too peaceful, like someone had optimized not just for efficiency but for beauty. Dr. Walsh met them at the landing pad. Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Raylan, Observer Quillith. Director Hayes is waiting. They walked through gardens that should not exist at this latitude, plants from different climates growing side by side. Raylan noticed the temperature and humidity shifted subtly as they passed different sections, microclimates maintained by systems he could not see. You terraformed Earth itself? He asked. We optimized it, Walsh corrected. Earth was already perfect for humans. We simply made sure every ecosystem functioned at ideal capacity, weather patterns organized for maximum agricultural benefit while maintaining natural beauty, species diversity preserved and enhanced, pollution removed at molecular level. We treat our planet as a garden requiring constant attention. Hayes waited in an observation room overlooking a valley. What should have been empty fields instead showed something impossible. Geometric patterns visible to the naked eye, light refracting through structures that bent space itself. That is our primary coordination nexus, Hayes explained. Dark matter processors integrated with normal matter at quantum scales. What you see is the visible electromagnetic leakage from computational processes occurring in 11 dimensions. We could hide it, but prefer transparency. Why show us this? Quillith asked. Because you asked, because understanding prevents fear. Because 300 years ago we made a promise to ourselves, no secrets, no hidden capabilities, complete honesty about what we built. Other species can handle the truth or they cannot. Either way, we will not hide what we have become. Raylan walked to the window. Drevish asked you something. Why you do not expand? You gave him philosophy. Give me truth. Hayes considered the question carefully. Truth. We do not expand because expansion would mean giving up what we have built. Our territory is not space filled with planets. It is space optimized to function as a single integrated system. Every atom known, every pattern understood, every possibility calculated. Adding new territory would mean either reducing understanding in current space or extending our consciousness across larger areas. Both options reduce perfection. We choose perfect understanding of small space over incomplete knowledge of vast space. But you could force optimization on other species, Quillith observed. You demonstrated this to the Corthans, why do you not? Because forced optimization is tyranny, real advancement must be chosen. We show species what is possible, we offer assistance. We demonstrate restraint. Then we wait. Some species look at what we built and want to learn. Some species retreat in discomfort. Both responses are valid. Both teach us something valuable about galactic psychology. Walsh pulled up holographic displays. 17 times in 300 years we detected genuine threats. Extragalactic invasion fleets, rogue AI collectives, weaponized singularities. Each time we quietly reorganized the threat into harmless matter before it reached inhabited space. Nobody knew. Nobody needed to know. We do not protect the galaxy for recognition. We protect it because we can and because doing so is right. Raylan felt something shift in his understanding. You are guardians. We are gardeners, Hayes corrected. Guardians imply external threats being held back. Gardeners imply constant tending and care. We tend to galactic civilization. We remove dangers before they become visible. We optimize systems that request our help. We demonstrate that true power lies not in domination but in service. Quillith moved to the window. My people reached this same point 8 million years ago. We chose differently. We expanded across galaxies. We optimized thousands of systems. We brought our understanding to unwilling civilizations. Do you know what happened? Raylan shook his head. We became gods, and gods are lonely. Civilizations we optimized lost their ability to advance naturally. They became dependent on our guidance. Stagnant, safe but stagnant. Eventually we retreated. We hid ourselves in folded space and let natural evolution resume. We learned too late that forced perfection kills the very thing that makes life valuable. The struggle, the discovery, the choice. Hayes nodded. We learned. From your mistake, we chose restraint over expansion. We chose to be teachers rather than gods. We chose to show rather than impose. And if another species achieves what you have, Raylan asked, what if someone else reaches your level? Walsh smiled. Then we will celebrate. The galaxy does not need one species holding absolute power. It needs multiple voices demonstrating different approaches to advancement. We chose depth. Perhaps another species will choose breadth. Perhaps another will choose integration. Each path teaches something valuable. We do not fear competition. We welcome it. The sun set over the valley. The geometric patterns shifted, catching light in impossible ways. Raylan understood finally. Human territory remained unchallenged not because of force, not because of fear, because humanity had built something so profound that conquest would be meaningless. They had turned space itself into consciousness. They had achieved what every civilization dreamed of and then chose not to use it for expansion. That choice, renewed every day for 3 centuries, represented more strength than all the military fleets in the galaxy combined. We will recommend to the Council that human borders be formally recognized as sovereign philosophical territory, Quillith announced. Protected not by treaty but by mutual respect. Hayes bowed slightly. We appreciate the recognition, but borders exist with or without formal acknowledgement. What matters is that civilizations understand why they exist, not to keep others out, to keep ourselves focused, to prevent the temptation of easy expansion, to force ourselves to continue perfecting rather than acquiring. Raylan departed Earth understanding something profound. Power was not measured in territory controlled or species conquered. It was measured in choices made. Humans chose restraint. That choice, held firm despite godlike capabilities, represented the highest form of advancement the galaxy had ever seen. The ship lifted toward orbit. Behind them, Earth glowed with impossible light. Beneath that light, humanity tended their garden, patient, powerful, perfectly controlled.